We are honored to acknowledge and extend a warm welcome to the Chair of the Social Security Board, Mrs. Chandra Nisbet Cancino, Board Directors, and the Board Secretary. We also wish to recognize the SSB's acting CEO, Mr. Jerome Palmer, and the members of our executive management team, and all other leaders and staff who continue to drive our mission forward. It is a true pleasure to welcome you to the SSB Connect this year. Today we gather not only to reflect on where we have been, but to roll out new services and to chart the course of where we are headed as a nation's social security system. At the Social Security Board, our mission is clear: to deliver an innovative, resilient, people-centered, and sustainable social insurance program that protects against certain vulnerabilities from the womb to the tomb. This mission grounds everything we do, because Social Security is not simply about numbers or benefits. It is about safeguarding people's lives, families, and futures. Our vision calls us forward to build a dynamic, progressive, and sustainable social security system. And with that vision, we embrace our purpose to be a beacon of hope, improving the quality of life in Belize. These are not just words on a page. They are commitments that guide every step we take as an organization. And so, today's event is about connecting with you, our stakeholders, our partners, and the people we serve, to share openly and transparently where we are and where we are going. This afternoon, you will hear about the 2024 financial highlights, which give us a clear picture of the fund's performance. You will see the latest enhancements to the My Social Security portal, which make it easier than ever to access services and stay connected. We will also unveil the 5-year strategic plan, our blueprint for a more modern, sustainable social security system, one that is firmly built on the principles of good governance and operational excellence. Together, these conversations will illuminate the path forward, one where innovation and resilience meet accountability and trust. So as we begin, let us embrace the spirit of dialogue, learning, and connection, because SSB Connect is more than an event. It is a promise that the Social Security Board will continue to evolve, to listen, and to serve, with the people of Belize always at the center. Welcome, and thank you for being part of this important journey. At this time, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Leo Vasquez, General Manager for Finance, to present the 2024 financial highlights of the Social Security Board. Please join me in extending to him a warm welcome to the stage.
I am grateful for all of you folks here, so thank you. When I first came, this was over here, so they changed up on me. Why, you may be wondering, why do we start with financial information on a Friday afternoon, 1:30? Well, the answer is very easy. It allows us to get a basis so we can appreciate or consider our strategic plan. That is a spring forward. So let's understand now where we are now, performance-wise, balance sheet, cash flows, all that stuff. So if we can get into the results, I just want to quickly you'll start with the statement of profit in terms of performance. So most people tend to go right to the bottom line, and this, I must disclose, this is SSB only. Financial statements for SSB is a combination of NHI, SSB. We have carved out the NHI portion to make it only SSB, because this is our Social Security fund. This is our fund. NHI, as you know, is funded by the GOB. So, excessive income was 48.9, say 49 million. If you recall from last year, for those folks who were here, that number was 50 million. And so, not far off, it was 48.9. There are a couple things. Now, how did we get there? Contributions revenue of 179.4. For ease of discussion, we say 180 million. 2024 is our first year where we accepted, or where the recognition of revenue was by the submission of FIN 15A statements. Prior, it was cash collected, but the rules have changed. Now, that's good in one way, and also puts the onus on another way. So the 180 million is submission of FIN 15A statements. But employers, there's also a part for you to commit or to pay that submission of contributions, okay? Now, the 180 million is about 8% higher than where we were last year, 166 million. So an 8% bump. Active insured persons, as you know, the wage band up to the 520, more folks joined the 520 wage band. So that is what the driver, 30% of those folks is what drives that number. As I mentioned, 8% increase. However, we lost it, we gave it right back when 23.9 million by itself seems like a lot of money, but it's an 8% dip from where we were in 2023. If you allow me to just shelf that number for a second, I will come back to the investment income, is where I want to go. Other income is just that, other income. For the most part, it's card renewals, new cards. There's an interest on late submissions component for 3.1 million, total revenue of 206.4. Now, one of the reasons why we exist is the payment of benefits. I'm happy to report the 129 million was in cash outflow to our insured persons, retirees, sickness benefits, employment injury. The big line item in there is those four numbers you see on the right, 96.6 long-term, which includes about 74 million of retirement pension. That number we can expect to increase 10 to 11% year on year. Again, one of the reasons why we exist is to pay, to insure. So that is our commitment to you good folks, to pay the benefits, okay? Of course, there is a operation cost, and we try to bust it out in terms of the administration cost, direct operating cost, versus the depreciation and amortization of your fixed assets. And for those folks in investment property, we have a David L. McCoy building. So we wanted just to carve it out to separate the two. 25 plus 3, 28, giving total expenditures of 157, and the excess, like I mentioned, 49 million. What that means for us. So we added the 49 million goes to our benefit reserves. The one figure that we have to monitor and manage, what gets measured gets managed, right? And so the long term, the 546.2 is a reserve set aside for long-term benefits, again, survivors, invalidity, and the big ticket item in there is our retirement reserves, retirement payments. Okay, but the 730, after the 48.9 is allocated to those reserves, you're looking at that short-term 35.4 allows us to meet our sickness benefits, maternity grants, maternity benefits, Employment injury is just that, 138.4. And of course, so those are, we pay about 13,000, and that number has jumped up to about 15,000 folks in terms of the retirement, the pension payments. On a pension roll, like I mentioned, that number will continue to increase about 10 to 11%. Now, for the state of the fund, where we are in terms of assets, 746, again, remember, this is just SSB exclusively. For us, I wanted to highlight the cash balance of 175. That's available cash. We expect that number to be higher in 2025 as more folks come on, but it tells us we have to do something about 125, that 175.8. I'm asking my folks to, okay. In that balance sheet, you saw the 175.8 in terms of cash. The other big ticket item in there is the 506.1 million in our investment portfolio. Now, that portfolio delivered the 23.9 that I mentioned, a dip of about 8% from 2023. And one of the factors driving that is, you can see our investment in associates is a little north of 40%. So when things are good, it shows up there. When things are a little south, it's going to show up there. So BTL performed quite nicely, 40-some cents per share. That was not the case with BEL. BEL delivered a $9.6 million loss. We are a 31% investor in that organization, and that in large part drove down our numbers for 2024. It was like, however, albeit, like I said, BTL performed quite nicely on 8.6 million, and we did investments in our bonds, debentures, municipal papers, some shares, and had some loans, deposits that brought the 23.9. This figure of 506 is where, yes, contributions, revenue is our big ticket item, 80%. However, to sustain the fund, Vanessa talked about the 4 pillars, one of them being fund sustainability. This is what is going to help us get there. Not alone, but that 506, we would love to come back and report 550 at the end of 2025, another 50 million into the portfolio, call it 600 million, say in 2 years, earning at least a 5%. Our actuarial rate is 5.5%. We did not do that. We did about 4.7. My investment manager here can call me out on that, but nominal rate of return was 4.7 before inflation. We want that number to be higher, okay? So while contributions, revenue coming in, the collection comes in, all the income, we pay the benefits. One of the areas that we have to do, we must do better, or we will certainly try in terms of looking at additional investments, maybe San Pedro, but the need for investments is there, and we must invest that 175 million into the fund to help sustain the fund. Is really the bottom line. We could talk all about the numbers and what have you, but if you take away nothing else from this discussion, a couple of things. Remember the 49 million. We would like to repeat that in 2025. Total assets of the number of 740, I believe was the number. And I guess we're missing there, so forgive me. So 49 million, 740, and $175 million in available cash for us to invest is really the state of our fund as we speak today. The team and CEO will take it forward in terms of spring forward in 2025 to 2029, the things that we have for you. But in order for you to appreciate that, we must understand where we are right now. So We thought to keep it very general, very simple in terms of our performance and our state of financial position in terms of cash and reserves. And that's really the long and the short of this presentation in order to move things along. So I thank you, and I believe that is it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez, for that insightful presentation on the Social Security Board's 2024 financial position. At this time, I am very much pleased to invite Ms. Arlene Neal, General Manager for Service Management, and Mr. Ward McGregor, Chief Information Officer, to the podium or the stage, whichever they prefer, to present the latest features of the My Social Security online portal. Please join me in giving them a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. They had me complete my first step, climb 3 stairs at this age. Good day. Thank you for being here with us at our annual event, SSB Connect. I am pleased to share with you, along with Ward, our CIO, our portal services, exciting things happening at Social Security as we join the transition that is happening around the world to leverage technology in terms of improving our services, being more efficient, to be able to bring in those dollars that Leo spoke about, to be able to appropriately manage the fund in terms of improving our performance, reducing our administrative costs, and at the same time, serving you faster in terms of being more efficient and less turnaround time. So we'd like to demo to you today our portal services. This has been a buzz for a while now, and we'd like to show you step by step in terms of how you access your My Social Security portal. As we introduced earlier when Ms. Vanessa spoke, we have a help desk, a service desk at the registration section, and we invite you to one, if you have your device, you sign up for your portal account. That may give you a reward at this event, and that we are able to link you automatically other than the process we normally use to go through this via the online activation. We have persons available at our help site to do that in person, since we are able to identify who you are right here, right now. So, to demonstrate, you log in to My Social Security self-service portal. This is pretty straightforward. This is the landing page and the home screen. You log in, and when you hit that button, it brings up the welcome page, and you're able to use a valid email address. Make sure that it's valid, it's not outdated, and it's active. There's a password prompt feature in terms of the criteria. We all know that. That is a requirement in terms of securing your access. And once you complete those 2 fields, you log in, and you will... What are you going to demo? Yes. The fields?
Yes. So before I get to the point of, I want to just clarify one thing. A lot of people make this mistake. The email address that you use should be your personal email address. It should not be the one that you work for, the company you work for, and so on, because those change. You change jobs and so on. Then, I still have a Comcast address that's my...
That's not valid.
So anyway, here we go. I'm going to use a couple of email addresses, a couple of accounts, just because we'll be demoing different features of the portal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to... Oh, boy. There we go. I'm going to use this login. It's the for the sickness benefit demonstration, because that's the first IP we'll be using. This particular person has 3 different profiles on the portal, right? So they have a profile as a doctor, they have a profile, they have another business, so they're also an employer, and they have their own profile, their own account, right? So I'm going to start with the Gary's profile as the IP we'll be looking at. And if you notice, for folks that are familiar with the portal, the general information page, you have a dashboard, and then you can get more details there. Your account details, that will tell you everything about your information there. You can edit it at this page. And if you want to request card replacement, since that's a product that we offer at SSB, you can request it on the portal also. It also gives you information about your benefits, the various forms, claims that you have, and medical certificates that you may have to be used. I want to go down, Arlene, to the history section, right? So you have there every request that you've made at SSB. If you have history there, it'll show it on this page. There's none for this person. This is a new employee. There are notices that you may have gotten. But the interesting section here is this page, right? On this page, you get a view of your contribution history. You can see this person has only been working for a couple of years, 2.5 years about. And so, that's their history. It's kind of short. Most of us will have much more information on this page, much more data. But the interesting thing here is if even in this small space or anything you have issue with your contributions, you can click this button and allow you to look for an employer that you've worked with. You can see what the issue is, right? So most of the time it's missing contributions, missing employer, unknown contributions. For the honest ones around us, right? I just had a person call in, said, look, I'm looking at my history, but I see contributions that are doubled, right? So things like that, you can report it here and we'll clean it up for you. Remember, a lot of this data was on paper before. So, we're trying to clean up the information. It's pretty accurate as it is, but things happen and we're giving you the tools to request changes, right? I won't go through that because that's going to be a whole other session.
Ward, can you click on one of the years to demonstrate the drill down in terms of seeing the details per year for that employer? Because it's important that on the portal, you are able to see your contribution history record. You are able to monitor that your employer is submitting those statements to Social Security once the employer submits that statement on the portal, because it is mandatory that the employers submit their statements via the portal. We no longer do data entry. We spoke about efficiency, right? So those contributions, once that employer submits that statement, it will appear in your contribution record. It doesn't stop there, because the employer must also pay the contributions that they submit the statement for. They retain contributions from you, from your pay slips, from your earnings. They must pay that into Social Security. So while you see the status there as paid, we have to ensure the employers are also making those payments to Social Security to go into that fund that Leah spoke about. Okay? So this is where you now have a view to monitor your contribution record. You no longer need to do that manual process to fill out the form at the branch and send it to us. You can go on the portal, and the process that Ward just demonstrated is for you to also submit the query based on what you observe, if there's any discrepancy or inconsistency with your contribution record over your working life. You will note that if a record for contribution type has credited, it was because you were on sick leave, you received some benefit from us, that for a complete week, we credit your record with a contribution. So the category there would be credit so that you do not lose out in the total contribution record for that year. Okay?
Okay. Also, if you're going to, especially for missing contributions, if you're going to have us look into that for you, you must also upload supporting documentation, right? So maybe a certification from your employer that you indeed worked at that time between that period. Pay slips is good if for those diligent among us that keep all their pay stubs from 1985. So things like that, right? But right now I'm going to get straight into one of the key purposes here. So this person fell ill sometime Sunday evening, was doing sort of overtime, right? And so fell ill and went home. Went to the doctor on Monday, and so I'm going to change, like...
It is important that you note in that area is the access as.
Yeah.
Earlier when Ward spoke, he mentioned that you have different profiles. You have one portal account, but you're able to access multiple profiles depending on the type of business you are, the type of accounts you have. This person is an employer. This person is also a doctor. And this person is also an insured person. So this person's portal has 3 different accounts. It is important that when you log in, you recognize where the access is to ensure that you are at the right profile.
Yeah. So now I'm going to change like Houdini and turn it to Dr. John, right? And so I'm just going to show you here, there's a process of submitting a medical certificate, but just like the other profile, this you have a dashboard also, right, that tells you about your account. In the case of a doctor, the information, we just ensure that they're certified, they're licensed to practice in Belize, and so on and so forth. So it's minimal information for them that we have on here, unlike the employer that I'll show you later on. The important thing here, though, is they can go in and create medical certificates. So if I needed to create a new medical certificate for Gary, I would have go to add certificate here. But I did this in preparation because I didn't go through that whole lengthy process. So this is a medical certificate. As I said, he fell in on Sunday, went in for examination on the 18th, and the doctor obviously gave Gary a term of incapacitation, meaning that they can take sick leave from the 18th to the 27th. The doctor certified that. Doesn't mean that Gary has to take all that time, but the doctor did certify 10 days. So that's how it looks here on the portal, right? So once that's created, this is what the medical certificate looks like. Some people, some employees need to take a physical copy into their employer to say, hey, I actually went to the doctor and I was sick. This is my medical certificate. The employer needs that. If you are doing this thing online, we don't need the paper. Please remember, we do not need the paper. So if they need to print right at the doctor's office, that the doctor can print it right there for that person, right? And that's what they would get, that document. It tells who the medical certificate is for, when they were examined, and the period, right? The period of incapacity that they were given. So won't do that here. So now that there's a medical certificate for Gary will go to their portal. Let me start this up again. So there's an email address. It comes to Gary's email, and there's a medical certificate there. Don't be thrown off by this. As I said, it's the same email address. So there are 2 emails here. This is the one for Gary here, the one on top that says, "Dear Gary Hines, email is confirmed, medical certificate has been submitted on your behalf, blah, blah, blah." But the important thing here to understand is from this point, from this email, you're able to click on that link. It'll take you to the portal. It'll force you to log in again, obviously, because it needs to know that you're doing. So I'm going to log in.
So while Ward is completing that process of the employee transitioning from the doctor's submission of an online medical certificate via the healthcare feature, which our call for action right now is to have all registered medical practitioners in Belize use the healthcare feature to submit an online medical certificate to assist us in our transformation journey to an online environment. Pretty soon, another announcement will come where we will cease the use of the manual sickness benefit claim form. We expect that the doctors are able to access the healthcare feature for an online medical certificate. Our customers, employees, have a portal account. They will be able to get that online medical certificate from the doctor. That is what Ward is showing now.
Yes, so as Arlene said, as I demonstrated, I clicked on that email address I got, and it takes me directly to the claim, right? So I don't have to go log in and look for, no. Once you click on that link from the email, it'll take you and you log in. It'll take you directly to the claim that you need to fill out. It gives you some requirements for sickness benefit. And then once you read that and you agree, you can continue. So that's the form. See, you're ready to go, right? So the claim, we set it up for you. Everything is geared to go. So first thing it asks is about your banking information. Is that correct? Of course it is. I can go, okay, is this claim related to injury at work? That is a very important question, right? Injury at work means that while you are doing something on the job, you got injured. That's different from a sickness claim, right? So if that did not happen, right, you need to put for just a regular, in this case, Gary went to the doctor. The doctor said, yep, you're sick, you have dengue, you need to stay at home, right? Basically what the doctor is saying. So no, this is not an injury at work, right? I need to figure out my claim period. Well, the doctor gave me from the 18th to the 27th. I am sick right now, right? I'm still sick. I need to take the whole time. So, yep, I'm going to take the full 18th, and I'm just going to use things that I use to the 27th, right? So that's my period of incapacity, right? Who's the employer? Yep, that's where I work. Is this your current employer for your claim? Yes, that's where I was. There was prom, and they had a lot of things, so I had to go and try and do some work overtime. That's basically what happened on Sunday. Do you have a completed salary record? Nope. And this is asking you a question because some people, again, we're familiar with the SM2, right? We go to the employer, they give us a paper with, nah, you don't need that, right? Because SSB, we have all your information on file, right? If there's any missing information, don't worry, the employer will be prompted. So don't put the paper again. Everything is electronic, right? Is this my current employer? Yes, it is. When did I start working? I'm just going to use that date. So that's when I started working for this employer. Do you have additional employers? No, this is also a very important question. Additional employers, right? If you're working for more than one employer at the time, and this sickness claim affects both of them, right? So if you're out today and you were supposed to be at work at the other employer, right? You need to put yes here, and then it'll ask who that employer is. If you don't, in case Gary, this is Gary's only job, so Gary will say, no, I have no additional employer. And then declarations, I will inform him, blah, blah, I will authorize. Read these very carefully. People don't just click, right? Read what you're doing. It is a contract. You're about to submit a contract with SSB. Very important. So that $10,000 isn't a lie. So, and then I'm going to submit, right? So submit this will take a little while. It's doing some checking and so on in the background. One thing I want to say, this is, yeah, we're looking at the portal, but this is actually a transactional system. There's a huge application in the background doing business rules and all kinds of stuff right now to process this application. So it's, yeah, the portal allows us to collect accurate information, but the real work is actually happening in the back and the servers right now. So in a while, it'll tell me something. Don't know what it'll be.
And to add to that, you notice that when Ward started the process, there were just a few fields that the employee needed to complete because all the rest of the information was pre-populated based on the recognition that you're the owner of that portal account based on your logging, you're linked to your Social Security account, and so the information is pre-populated.
Yeah. So now I'm returning to my home page, but remember, I do work for somebody. So that employer now will get an email, checking to see if the things that I submitted are accurate. So let me go, as I said, same email address. See, there's a sickness benefit thing here, right?
And this is the importance of having a valid email address, because that is how we will communicate with you. That is where you will get all the instant messages and prompts in terms of your transaction via the portal.
I'm waiting for my other email. Anyway, you know what I'm going to do? So this is what the employer will see. So I'll go log into my portal account as the employer. Remember, Gary is like a chameleon, right? Has all kinds of stuff. So what I'll do is I'll log out of this. Actually, I'll just use the dry cleaners because that's who Gary works for, right?
Yes.
So let's see what happens here. See, there's a sickness claim there.
Yeah.
There's also a prompt up here. When this little thing is red, it means you have a notice, right? So both places, when you check your account, you'll see that. Later on, the employer will also get an email saying that, this person submitted but I'm not going to wait for that. We need to move, right? So I'm going to review, right? So this is what the employer sees when they go on confirm sickness benefit. First thing, they want to know when was that last day work, right? So remember I said Gary came in and overtime was there on Sunday, right? And so the 17th, they went home. I want to say.
This is not real time.
And 5.
The process is much faster. This is a demo mode.
The 5. Well, remember, this is the employer doing their part now, right? There's several different people. It seems long because I am taking the part of 3 people right now, right? I'm the IP that made the claim. I'm the doctor that did the certificate. And now I'm doing the employer's job, right? So, but all this thing for the employer would be quick. This is all they're going to see, right? In this case, right, yep, they were employed for me. And in this case, they had some missing contributions, right, to make this claim. And yep, they did work these times. So and they made $100 a week. So.
When this happens, it's because the employer normally would not have submitted the statement yet for that period, that we check for the eligibility for the contributions for that person's eligibility for the sickness benefit period.
Yep. I agree to use, yep, and I understand. Again, read your stuff very carefully. Do you have a question?
We want to have a question.
Yeah, I wouldn't have seen that, right? So what happens is if the IP has the requisite things, contributions for that benefit, that would have come up. All the employer would have seen
Just
is the first, the period and the fact that they certify that they work for me or that employer at that time. That's it. That piece in the bottom is just because there's some missing contributions that would make them eligible for this benefit, right? When they submit this to employers, and it's not an indictment, it's just that because there's missing contributions, and I say, okay, this person made $100 a week, what will happen when you submit this? We also get an alert. Hey, this person worked for this period. We don't have contributions. Because if they have to do it here, we didn't have the contribution. So they will get contacted. Hey, there are some missing contributions. You need to pay for those. There's interest, blah, 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 blah. So just be aware of that, right? Everything is connected right now. So just be careful.
No, we want you to do due diligence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
The employee is being honest. The employer needs to submit.
Submit, exactly. So I'm going to submit this on John's behalf, or Gary's behalf, sorry. And again, wait a little bit. It's now creating these contributions in the background. I don't know what happened there. There we go. So cool. I don't need that. So now that's happened. Let's go to see the email. Well, it'll take a little while now because remember what's happening here. Things are processing in the background. I can go and show you here that this is our back office. This is the thing that we see at SSB, right? And here, see, that's Gary's sickness benefit claim, right? It's eligible. The days, everything is good. It's all the way up to payment, right? So I wanted to show you that because if you do everything electronic, digital, online, zip, payment, it's just like when that payment cycle is, right? So if you do this early enough in the morning, you might catch that cycle before 10 o'clock or whenever that thing runs, that, you'll be paid. You can be paid the same day if you have some days that are eligible, right?
Yes.
So just keep that in mind. Let's go back and see if, yep, there you go. See, so they get their letter. That's what the letter reads. I won't read through it. This is your notification that it's been allowed and so on and so forth, right? So that is the whole process for a sickness benefit. The whole process. Just wait for your money now.
So when you consider the enhancement of this process and the transition to this from where we are right now, Social Security processes between 5,000 to 6,000 sickness benefit claims per month. And so when you look at sustainability being more efficient, reducing our processing time, and looking at ways how we can continuously improve, it is significant that we encourage employees to have their portal account. We encourage the medical professionals to have a portal account to submit online medical certificates and use the online submission to transact with us. It benefits you as well.
Okay.
So that's our sickness benefit feature. And we have
retirement.
One more new feature that we are demoing today. This is, you just got it fresh out the box, and it's for our retirement benefit online process. Persons who are age 60 or between 60 and 64, or the mandatory retirement age is 65 for Social Security. If you are at that point, you can now submit your retirement benefit claim with all the supporting documents via the portal account. You may say that these persons of this age may not want to interfere with a portal account, but I assure you that many of these persons have more apps on their devices than we do, the younger people. And so we also have self-service kiosks as part of our channels of choice across our branches. And that simply means that there is a computer there for you to use. If you don't know how to use it, one of our customer service persons will gladly assist you in signing up for a portal account, in submitting your various transactions with us online. If you know how to use it, you're welcome to our offices to access our self-service kiosk at any time.
Okay, so people like me are curious about retirement, right? So I'm going to use another user here. This one will be the retirement benefit person, right? Now, this person has only one profile. One profile on the so it'll come directly to their profile because that's all they have. Roger, he's been working forever, well, not like 10 years or so. And so I'll go straight to the history. So for folks, as we said before, folks that are, around 58, 59, you're nearing retirement, even 55, even 22. Go look at your contribution history, please. I would say do it like how you do your finances for your bank. I don't know about you, but I make sure at least once a month. It's more often than that, but at least once a month, I am on there checking to see what happened, what transactions were there, what was paid, and I caught a couple of times triple payment for the same transaction in my account. So the same way, be diligent in checking on your contribution history. That's the same disclaimer that we showed. This person has even more contributions, right? So they have 574, over their employment period, and so they can dispute if they, as we said before, and if you're going to do that, I understand it, the different things. But
given that this record appears complete for each year, 52 contributions on a regular year and 53 in a leap year, we gather that the only other thing this person may want to dispute in terms of a contribution history would be if there are missing years, because all the other years appear complete.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, since I looked at that and it looks good to me, I'll go to my benefits, right? I'm going to forms because this is the first time I'm going to come on here. If you notice how this is laid up, I think most of us are familiar with the terminology we use as Social Security. Short-term benefits are the ones, sickness, maternity, funeral grant, those short-term benefits. We already spoke, about the EI or employment injury benefits. It's all obviously the EI, death benefit, and so on and so forth. But in this case, we'll be doing at the long-term benefit. I'm about, to retire at least. Roger is. So, gonna apply. Simple again. Requirements on the left shows, have to be at least 60, at least 500 contributions, digital copy of a birth certificate or passport. Now, as I said, if you have if your profile is complete, your information is complete, you have your birth certificate on file, we have it there, we have, or a passport, whatever you use to register a social, if everything is there, you really don't have to do this, but in this version of the application, it will still ask you that question. Just, upload it just for safety's sake. I have an old passport I'll be using for Roger. But the next iteration of this, we hope to, if we know we have that information for you, then we won't even ask that question because we do have the information on the file. So anyway, going first question, contact details. We need to ensure that the stuff you have on the file is wow, Roger lives in Sokots. Okay. And then this is correct. Yep. And then bank details. check this very carefully. This is your pension. Yep, that's correct.
Or a grant.
Yep, or a grant. Yep. Well, it's your benefit. Let's put it that way. Right. And then, are you currently employed? Actually, are you currently receiving a benefit? Nope. Are you in insurable employment? Now, if I'm over 65, you're wondering why this question. Well, if you're working for somebody and you get injured, you would like to get EI benefit, right? Well, to get EI benefit, that employer needs to be paying a minimum amount into your Social Security fund. So it's anyway, that's what this question is asked. And then if you say yes, then we ask who the employer is, and but if you say this, Roger is not employed, so nope. We're going through the happy path here. I don't need to view contribution history already because I already saw it. I'm good. Yes, that's good. So, and then here's where I said about the document to upload, right? So I'm just going to upload an old passport.
When submitting a retirement benefit claim, we always ask for the source of your identity to ensure that this is the last interaction we have with you before we start either the pension payment, the retirement pension payment, or pay you your retirement grant, to ensure that your record is completely updated at that stage. It is unfortunate at times when the employed person pass away and the family members are not able to give us that information when it comes to proper documentation for identity and also employment history. So when Ward mentioned earlier about the importance of checking, you need to ensure that while you're employed, your contributions are being submitted to Social Security. We have quite often when the beneficiaries of that deceased person, they're unable to assist us to identify where else that deceased person work, to be able to ensure that we have accounted for all the contributions. So it's very important that while you're here with us on Earth, that you do that check, okay?
So again, I stress people, read the declarations carefully, right? And then once you read and understand that, see that $10,000 there again, submit. And remember, I uploaded a document. So once this is submitted, server does its thing. I know I'm an SDA now. I'm going to switch hats. I'm the SDA now. I'm a CSA, sorry, at Social Security. So I'm going to go to that application, go to retirement claims. It's happening in the background. There's Roger's application. So you're probably asking, how would we know that, that application came in? Two things. There's actually obviously the active retirement claims that's there. It's a queue. The top one is the most recent. But also folks get alerted, right, that whole new claim came in. So right now I'm going to go to the retirement claim for Roger, see where that is. So why do you think it needs to be reviewed? Like everything, the eligibility engine, this thing on the right here is what we call the eligibility engine. Check eligibility. It's the program that runs in the background with all the information we have, contribution history, all that stuff. It runs all that stuff, all the rules according to the laws of Belize, and then it says, yep, that person's eligible, right? So there's a lot of stuff happening in the background once I did that submit button, right? So, but what happens here is because I submitted, what would have happened, the CSA would have gone and look at the documents submitted to ensure that, yep, this person is the right person, all that stuff. So we're going to assume that happened. So I'm going to say, yep, everything's good. I'm going to approve the claim and go to the next step. So again, it sits there. It says IP confirm, right? This is the business process that's happening. But what happens now is the IP gets an email, right? So they have to accept the decision that was made by us, right? We can't just give them a thing. It's not a dictatorship. So they go, I look at their claim, right? Looks good. They have been received. Everything. Good. So it's there. Remember the engine's doing some things in the background, so you're wondering where that thing is. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to get another email pretty soon, I hope. That then I'll review and see whether or not I accept that claim.
What Word is showing here is a shift from what we do currently, where any person making a retirement claim at any of our branch offices countrywide must come into the office to sign an agreement and acceptance that the contributions that are being used in the calculation of their retirement benefit is accurate. 1, and 2, that they accept the contribution, the pension calculation. That process is now automated via the retirement benefit feature on the My Social Security portal. Our current service standard time for the processing of a retirement benefit claim is 30 working days. With this enhancement, we expect to reduce that time by 50% or more, or 50% or less.
Okay, the claim is active. Arlene?
Okay.
Well, no. There's one step here I'm waiting for. Do I need to call Justin?
I don't think so. I think we should be able to wrap up.
Yeah.
So just as an overview, you would have observed that all the transactions and interactions that we've shown, they're all on the same portal, the My Social Security Self-Service portal, whether you be an insured person, which is an employee, a worker, an employer with persons working for you, or a medical practitioner, it is the same portal that you log into. It's just how you access it, and it depends on the different transactions that you want to utilize via our online services. Sure. There's a question. We normally try to respond within 30 working days as well, but it depends on the extent of the research that is required and if it involves one of our compliance officers visiting that employer for resolution. Okay. So I think that this is our cue. Thank you very much.
So at this time, we would want to open the floor for further questions. You have seen the first presentation on the 2024 financial highlights, and then of course there was a demo of the sickness benefit claim process, the portal itself, the fact that you can check your contribution history, right? And then of course, yes, I see that there is a question. One of our team members will be bringing a microphone to you so that everyone can benefit from to hear your question.
Hi, afternoon. I know Ms. Neal mentioned you'd be having kiosks at the different Social Security offices. I've listened to the radio stations, and they're elderly people who at times want to, I know you have the life certificate that they have to sign, and a lot of them are invalid, they're incapable of really, and they're asking for help. Will there be any outreach programs to get those people signed up and maybe even to assist them?
Okay, I think Ms. Neal, you, Ward. Okay. Thank you for that question. Mr. McGregor will give you the answer.
Hi. Sorry. Yes, we. Well, part of this can be answered by Ms. So Go ahead. Yeah. So we will have capabilities at the portal or that will allow, for outreach for folks to do the life declaration, right? It's on the portal, but yeah, we're looking at other things that we can do for outreach for people that are shut-ins and can't come into the office. We won't announce those now because we don't like to announce features before we actually realize them, right? But yes, we have that in mind for those.
I thought Ward was going to let a little back. So we'll just keep it where we are right now. We do provide assistance where if a pensioner is unable to get to the office, we have one of our field staff assist in getting that declaration completed. We also accept the form already completed, and a third party can drop it at the office for the pensioner as well.
Okay, do we have any further questions? Yes, excellent. Okay.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to know, is it 10 working days or 10 actual days before payment benefits are being issued to the insured person? Because using the portal, I noticed, for example, I have a coworker that submitted their form on the 13th of this month, and up to today, that person have not received any response for approval or payment. Thanks.
Did the person submit via the portal or manually in the office? In the portal? If all the process in terms of the online medical certificate and the online submission via the portal, that claim is almost automatically processed. But what we can do is check the account and respond as to why, if there is any delay. If there is any upload of the medical certificate and they didn't do the online medical certificate or they used the manual sickness benefit claim form and there's a discrepancy, that's a return claim, and the individual would need to check their email based on the response from SSB. But we can check the record and advise you. Okay, because the standard processing time for a sickness benefit claim is 3 days. The submission time is what you're talking about. But I would advise you to reach out so that we could check the particular account and then give you an update. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I believe we have 2 or 3 more persons who had indicated they had questions. Okay.
I just wanted to ask, you see the section where the employer inputs the last date and time worked? Is it possible that a comment section can be put there? Like, for instance, us in government, sometimes we might have a gap between when the date of incapacity begins.
You mean in terms of a delayed submission?
No, you see when you put in, when you select the last date and time worked, let's say that I put my last date and time as Monday, but my sick leave began on Thursday. Then there's that 2 days gap. Maybe I was on vacation for the Tuesday to the Wednesday, and then my sick leave began the Thursday.
Oh, I get where you're coming from. So the employer would need to inform us why there is a gap between the last date you work and the first date of your medical certificate.
Yes, correct. So I wanted to know if a little comment box could be on that page or something like that.
That's a good suggestion. We'll note it. Thank you.
Next question, right in front. This gentleman in the white polo.
I think you can speak loud enough.
I know, but those in the back might not hear. Yeah.
Thank you. I was just wondering if you guys have any plan, any campaign to roll out this out to the general public in terms of maybe visiting large employers and having sessions with employees to explain how this process works quite honestly, this is fairly new to me. And, it's not that hard to understand, but still some type of public awareness campaign, is that in the making?
I feel disappointed. I thought we were everywhere. Obviously, we're not. But
maybe I'm under a rock.
you can reach out to any of our branch offices. We do visits to the work site. We take our outreach team. We assist you to do portal sign up. We show you what to do in terms of using the portal. We assist you to submit your transactions as well. So we do outreach. We just recently did a webinar. And if you need us to do any presentation to your staff, to your team, we also do that. So just reach out to any branch office and make the request. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? All right, there's somebody right there with their hand raised.
Hi, good afternoon. My question would be more towards Mr. Vasquez. As it relates to the employment injury, given the fact that the government is in the process of rolling out the Occupational Safety and Health Bill, when we look at that, at what we're currently paying out, how does that compare over perhaps the last 5 years? Is there an improvement? Is that going down? Is that going up? And I just want to get a feel of that trend, so as to maybe just make an assumption as to whether or not that bill will make any difference in terms of what it's currently casting, where employment injuries is concerned.
Dean, thank you for that question. Actually, employment injury branch is one of our better performing branches. I think where the issue, there are a couple of line items in there, injury benefits. One of the issues where we have to watch is the actual, what we call APV, disablement and debt, where may not a GOB worker, but electricity, BEL worker falls off the pole, fall off the house, the roof, and that is where we have some issues. But the employment injury branch per se, that injury benefit line has actually come down, and that reserve on an annual basis, we spend about $5 million per year in expenses, and that reserve that I brought up is about 38. It's funded like 38 times better. So, like I said, one of the better performing branches is employment injury, except for maybe that APV thing that we got to take a hard look at, which covers disablement and debt. Yeah.
And then on the thanks very much, Mr. Vasquez. And then on the area of compliance, does Social Security does any analysis in terms of perhaps compliance gaps where employers are concerned?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, for 2025, we engaged on with an exercise where we identified key compliance areas in terms of a strategy to be able to ensure that we do timely follow-up. Employers who have persons working, they also comply based on the Social Security law, encourage persons to also report employment. We have the hotline. What's the hotline again? The fraud, where you report. You report employment, right? Tell me again, Erickson. The whistleblowing hotline, where you have employment that you're aware of, you can also report that. But we have a massive compliance strategy that we are addressing for 2025, and we expect to see some positive results to fill some of the gaps by the end of this year.
Okay, so if I can rephrase the question, does SSB does any analysis to determine what might be the compliance gap that is out there?
Yes, we do.
What does that number look like?
I'm not able to give you that right now, but we do look at sectors.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I asked that very important question is because I could walk from, 500 yards from Social Security to a major establishment in which I socialize along with several employees of Social Security, as a matter of fact. And I can tell you that the employees there, as a matter of fact, coincidentally, just yesterday, was having a conversation whereby he confessed, but he wasn't complaining. He confessed that, you know what, I work on a certain project, and as part of the try get my things done, they're not pay social security for me, but I cool with that because blah, blah, blah. So this is basically 500 to 600 yards away from social security. So it's important to me because then with this, there's a lot of factors in place in terms of, okay, whether this fund was sustainable for perhaps persons like myself or those who come after me because of the aging population, and then the young people obviously don't want to have any kids. But I think that, in my view, it's a concern. You know, compliance is always an issue, and I don't know how aggressively SSB might be looking at that. And then I also have a lot of colleagues who are in the construction sector, but a lot of them might be naturalized Belizeans. Yes, they might speak English. For the most part, they may not. And they have a lot of employees. But when we look at digitalization, I don't see them gravitating towards it. And so I can tell you that they're not compliant as employers. And then I mean, it's easy for me to say, well, encourage them, but because of the digital era that we're in, I don't see them having that interest. And then you would have spoken about there will come a time when you guys will not, I'm not quite sure if in the near future and the distant future, be accepting the manual forms. Is there a projection for that? In terms of a period? Yeah, the claim forms and so on. Okay. Is there a timeline?
No.
Oh, there's none. Yeah. So that's just a category of employers that I think needs to be focused, that also perhaps SSB could perhaps see how they could target to get them registered. And then we have to take seriously as we transition that the reality is that internet access, continue to be a challenge for a lot of people. It's easy for us to, in the urban areas, to say, well, it's out there, but it's not necessarily out there, especially where some of these informal employers are concerned. Thanks very much. I charge by the hour.
Hi, just something to expand on since you brought up compliance. One of the things that, our first consideration when we started doing things online was, to bring things closer to the insured person to make their lives easier and so on and so forth, right? Now we're, they're ushering me to come to the center. But now what we're doing, and this is just kind of a heads up to our employers, it's one of the things we're considering because we've been seeing some trends with respect to people submitting statements and then actually paying for those statements, right? Because we've made some concessions, if you will, so as not to disenfranchise or insured people, but now we need to look at the compliance part of that. So what will be coming along is, if you do your submission, which you should, actually you have to right now, for your statement online, you can submit that statement, with all the information and everything, and that does not disenfranchise your employees with respect to their benefits and so on and so forth. But pretty shortly, once you submit that statement, the process will be submit and pay, right? So at least the statement you're submitting, you will need to pay for at that time. So it'll be submit and pay, and that's to bring compliance back to norm. Because, some people get busy giving people the benefit of the doubt here. They get busy, they forgot, oh shucks, I submitted that statement, I didn't pay, but that's actually causing some issues, right? So to take care of that, right, pretty shortly you'll see, now obviously we have to go to our board first, but the plan is, the strategy is, with respect to compliance, is when you submit your statement, pay, right? And it won't let you off, it won't allow you to move away unless you pay for at least that statement you're submitting.
Thank you. Two I started to look at this from a customer service point of view. If the gentleman raised the issue of reaching out to establishments, but I believe if you can produce a webinar for each of these processes, do I have access and that serves a purpose for those who YouTube, is important, and therefore they don't bother you with it. That's one. The other one is we need to add a feature like you could track when you order from Amazon where your package is. And I think everybody who engages with Social Security should be able to track, not wait 30 days or miss an email or decide to respond. I think this would serve two purposes. One, it allows the customer, who is the core of the business, to know first of all, everybody has to know what the process is and the steps in the process. So on their dashboard, if they have a bar that shows where their application is, for whatever process, right? And the time frame that should go through, it alerts the customer, but it alerts also the establishment. If the payment hasn't been made, while it's stuck, that bar would show, okay, yes, they reported the submission, but they haven't paid. And so if you could develop a bar for each of the profiles and each of the processes so that a customer will know, an employer will know where that process is and where it's stuck, they could see it right as they pull it up. That would then allow the IT function to serve two things. It'll help with the compliance, but it'll also help with the information for the employer, for the employee as well. So if we could maybe look at both of those. I know it's a little bit tough to do it, but you can do it.
So if you're looking at the process that we just demonstrated, each thing has, your claim has a status. And that status changes as the process changes the back office. When I show you that line on the top that I was looking at, that's the business process. It tells us where it is along the process internally. Externally, you get that information. The status right there tells you it's active, it's being paid, it's been submitted.
If you start from here to here, you want to know if you're here, or here. You don't want to know, you keep guessing until nothing happened after 30 years and you're still now waiting. So I'm saying for purposes of transparency and for better communication between the customer and the SSB, that we are used to. It's not hard for us to do. If we have it, share it with the customer.
We will consider that. So thanks for the question.
Do we have any further questions? Yes, there's one. Gentleman with the green polo? Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. When Mr. McGregor was modeling the sickness claim, and there was the part where I think the approval was shared with the employee, and it was mentioned that there are some employers who might want a hard copy. And my concern was it looked very simplistic on the screen. And normally when you want a copy, you want something that's either on a letterhead or stamped and signed, etc. But it looked very simplistic. How would an employer know that it's legitimate? And I ask this question because you may say, well, the employee might be victimizing themselves if they're just forging something and passing it on. But then you only need 510 contributions for your pension claim. And some employees do it because they just want to get that day off and pass it over to you. So that's my question.
Okay. Thanks for the question. So a couple of things. So remember I said that the system has business rules and so on. It evaluates. So it evaluates that on data that we have. right? So they can put anything on a paper, but in the system, they can't fudge the system. System will know if you have enough days or not. That's for eligibility. With respect to the printing of the form, actually the process is that I showed was simplistic. The doctor needs to stamp and certify that thing before they hand it. So, and that's what the employer is looking for. They're not only looking for that thing, they're looking for that seal from that institution that says, and the signature that, yeah, that's an official document. So.
Good afternoon. The reason we raise that concern is because I receive a form like that, and I'm like, this isn't real. It was not introduced to me. Now that I'm here, will appreciate. I realize that that is the form, but I said it doesn't look right. What happened to the usual one that we, But now that we are here, we get the picture and now we understand. But now, the other officers that didn't submit it before, they just want to print it and give it to me. I say it won't work because it's not stamped, and I need to send this off to our ministry. So you have to go and get it stamped. So I'm sorry for those.
No, that's correct. And so thanks for that, though, because it tells us that in our webinars and so on, we need to stress those little nuances that, yeah, you just don't print it and take it. You need to take it. If the employer needs it, you need to print it, take it to the doctor, let them certify that it is indeed the case, a medical certificate.
So we do not accept medical claims as an employer without the stamp. We recently had a number of claims. It's because we've made it mandatory for them to go through their portal. We no longer accept hard copies. And we've had claims come back because I get the notices, and we know they won't stamp, but they were processed. I could send you 5 of them on Monday. So there's a glitch somewhere in the system in the verification process. Because we questioned that, and I'm like, okay, is it our requirement that we want the stamp, or should it be on both sides?
If it's a paper medical certificate that's being uploaded,
they uploaded their own, yeah.
Then that's still a
But you guys shouldn't have paid it, correct? Yeah. Want me to send them to you?
Send them to, yes. Oh, it's a concern for us too.
Well, how come you're not accepting that already got paid? So bad, right? So I'm telling them they're marked absent because I'm not accepting it. Can you email me? I'll give you my email.
To follow up on the concern that the gentleman just raised, or the young lady raised, in terms of getting it stamped for it to be valid because it's too simplified, and maybe even for this issue that she raised up, couldn't we have a QR on the document that gets verified, authenticated on the API for whoever wants to question the authenticity of the documentation that's coming off the screen? Like when they print, you put a QR there that they can then link out, and the API sends back, say this is an authentic social security document, blah, 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 and that solves that problem.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
We have another question up front.
I just want to do a recommendation since we deal a lot with employers and workers. Can we add another like a field where when the doctor sends the and issue the medical certificate, that the employer gets a copy? Because many workers, sometimes they take 5 days to inform the employer that they're on sick leave. So it would be good that the employer get it automatically when the doctor issue the certificate.
So there's a couple of things. So thanks for the question. With respect to the medical, I'll start with the employer being alerted. So as you see in the demo, part of the process is the employer needs to verify that that person works for them and what was the last day work, right? So you will know that they are on sick leave because you'll get that. If that doesn't get approved, they don't get their benefit, right? If you don't go online and do that, they don't get their benefit, right? Yeah. So that's it. But in terms of the medical certificate, right? So actually a suggestion that was given to us, and we will look into it, thanks for the suggestion. But somehow we have to get a release from the person to say, yes, share my medical certificate. This is their medical certificate. Share it with the employer. We cannot just do that, right? That's why you don't get it right now. We leave it up to the eye. So maybe what we can do is figure out a way to do it electronically with all the security features, but you know, thanks very much.
Oh, there's another question. Yes.
Hi.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, good afternoon. To piggyback on the lady that what she said just now, I was thinking maybe we could eliminate the middleman per se, because at the Belize City Council we have a variety of staff. Some of them are unable to read and write, and so what happens is when you guys send that notification to them via email, some of them they're unable to even log into their emails because we at HR had created that email for them. So the onus is now on us at HR to log into their portals after they've submitted a medical certificate, and we're the ones who have to do all of that information, and it bogs us down a bit because we have different activities and things that we do on a daily basis. So if it is that we give the doctors the ability to submit the medical certificate, have them do all of that so that it automatically goes to our accounts officer, and then we wouldn't have to worry about all of that waiting time then, because by then at the council also, if they don't submit their medical certificates on time, then they'll get docked, and then that's another issue. So can that maybe be removed?
Answer the question.
That's a very valid contribution to the conversation. It is something we would have to look at, because I know there's also the requirement by the employee, if they're sick by labor law, they must notify the employer. So we will have to look at that in terms of how we balance that responsibility. Yes, we may want that the doctor at the initial stage also copy the employer. However, we have to balance that process in terms of who is responsible to get the medical certificate into the employer based on labor law requirement.
All departments within the council, and they are they're educated about this. They know the process. They know that there is a change. And for some reason, some of them, they have all kinds of different issues, and it is that we're unable to understand them, but we face these situations on a daily basis, and we see them. Some of them don't even have a phone number. They don't even have a phone. And so all of that work, seeing that we almost have 500 employees, all of that work then becomes our burden, in a sense, for lack of a better word at this point.
Perhaps those persons would be able to visit our offices to get a hard copy of the document that they require, other than having you taking up the responsibility to manage their portal account, or maybe they have a family member who would be able to. So it is something we could look at in terms of how we assist to enable these persons as customers of Social Security to access their information.
Some of them are unable to read. Their children aren't able to read. Their parents aren't able to read. So then we're not bringing down anyone, but it's the reality that we live in. Some of them are not literate any at all, and all of that process, they don't even know where to start. Some of them can't even tell you their date of birth. Some of them can't even sign their names. That's where we are. It's the real truth of the society that we live in at this point now. Thank you.
I think we could have a discussion in terms of how we can assist to provide you, the employer, with maybe bulk information that you can communicate with them. Because even if they take up the suggestion of getting the hard copy letter from us and they're unable to read it, then it would serve no purpose. So there has to be some collaboration that we could look at. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any further questions at this time. I want to thank you so much for all the questions that you have asked in this first question and answer segment. We truly value your participation. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. It is my honor to introduce our acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Jerome Palmer, who will deliver the much anticipated presentation outlining the strategic direction of the Social Security Board.
Afternoon, everybody. Mic check. Everybody good? Everybody can hear me, right? You know, the team wanted a nice bombastic come up here and let's go, let's roll. We want to look ahead. We wanted a video that shows you what we want to see in 2029. So my key question is, did we achieve that? Do you look at 2029 and see some things that look a lot different than what you see today? Yes? All right. So what we want to reveal today is definitely at a high level of our strategic plan for 2025 to 2029. I must say firstly that come September, you'll be able to go online and access our strategic plan and have a bit more detail as to what you can see, right? So that will be available online in due course. Today, for the SSB Connect, which is our annual forum, it is our platform to reach out to you all. And we're hoping that we not only come to you all today to present, but to engage with you, right? So today, we did the 2024 highlights. And we're very glad to see that we ended up with a surplus at the end of the year. Almost 50 million increase goes towards the fund. We all understand the dynamic of the fund, how it changes, the impact over time. So we're grateful to see those results. The contribution reform definitely has had a positive impact, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We've also today showed you a few new features, a few things that we were able to do. The retirement benefit submission, going online to make that request. That is a new feature. Earlier this year, we had launched the online sickness benefit. How many of you are using that feature already? Familiar with it, versed with it. We're getting more comfortable with it, right? And our people as well. We did a very soft launch in January. We stepped it up a bit over the last couple of months because, as with any new thing, you have to work through it. And the same thing with the retirement benefit. So we showed you now a bit of the process. I will tell you additional things we are working on. We're working on things like where you may be prompted at age 58 that, hey, your retirement is coming up. Check your contribution history. Come back to us. Let us know. Review your statement. Apply early so that when you retire, you're not then applying and going through the process. Your check coming in now because you've gone through it already. Those are the shifts that we're looking at, right? But those are new features that we're rolling out. A lot of that now we're in the process. We've done a lot just to bring the portal up to speed, and the work continues. And what I want to focus is tomorrow, a bit of today and tomorrow. What is our strategic focus? What does Social Security look like come 2029? You look at the video, we're trying to get to that place. Right? So what does Social Security look like in 2029? I do wish to thank all the directors, the EMC team. I want to acknowledge them because this has been work in progress. We did not come here today with a plan that began yesterday. No, there's a lot of assessment, analysis. What do we want to focus on? What is our vision? Our vision come 2029 is for a dynamic, progressive, and sustainable Social Security system. And when I go back to that first poll that we did, the main result showed that we needed to what? Strike a balance. That was the majority of your responses. A balance. A balance in improving benefits, which comes with a cost, and fund sustainability. And that's a lot of what we have to do and so how we move forward with it, right? So, priorities for Social Security Board over the next 5 years. Right at the top of it is good governance. We need to make sure in everything that we do, there's good governance, that we are accountable, we're transparent, we're participative. These forums help us to do that. Your feedback help us to do that. The controls, when you provide us with comments, I listened earlier when you're saying, oh, as an employer, how can I verify that? That helps us with good governance. Those are the feedback that we want, because at the end of the day, we want a system that benefits all of us, right? That's what we want. Scheme modernization. We don't want to have the same old scheme that was very suitable perhaps when we began in 1981, but needs to evolve now come 2029. We're looking ahead, right? Come 2029, we want a scheme that is relevant, inclusive, digital. That's what we want. So we have to take the steps to modernize the scheme. So this we recognize as our next priority over the course of the next few years. Operational excellence. Efficient processes, enhanced service. Now, doesn't that sound good? That should be what we're all striving for, right? We want to know that the process is efficient. We went through the portal, the submission. I heard the query, oh, but it's been 10 days. When we do certain things from our end and measure, we see the impact of the online sickness benefit submission. Doctor submit, the insured person do their part, the employer do their part, we do our part, and the processing time significantly improved. We've seen it, and we know a lot of our employers are beginning to see it, a lot of our IPs are beginning to see it, our insured persons. But that's what we want. We want efficient process. We want you to know when you go to our Social Security Board, the most efficient process is in place. That's what we want, right? And sometimes that means you don't need to come to us. You could be sitting on the beach, relaxing on a Friday afternoon, right here with us as well, and submitting your information, right? Am I right? Yeah. An enhanced service, right? That you have a query and issue, you can send us a notification and we can get back to you. All of those are enhanced services, right? And then the fourth item, fund sustainability. Fund sustainability has to be at the core at the end of the day. Sound investments. We have to make sure we take our time, do our due diligence, but provide investments that not just contribute to the long-term interests of the fund, but benefit the wider society as well. So we need to make sound investments. Lasting protection. We need to ensure that your contributions are coming in, that you're supporting, right? And we need your assistance in getting that done. Fund sustainability is our fourth strategic priority. So again, we recognize as we're looking at it, where there are 4 areas that we must focus on. These are our priority areas for 2025 to 2029. Good governance, scheme modernization, operational excellence, and fund sustainability. We can focus on these, we get that 2029 vision that we saw in the video, right? We focus on these, we get there. And we don't get there by ourselves, we get there with you all. Now, the interesting dynamic when I look at the different poll responses I saw with the online portal. What does that mean? How does that impact you? Convenience popped up at the middle, and I saw convenience, I saw a few other, and I realized that's the reality, right? That's what the portal does mean to you. There's a lot of convenience in getting it done. Now, we'll get there together from 2025 to 2029, but what does it mean to you? That's a good question. What this means for you, our stakeholders. What should you expect from the Social Security Board, the Social Security system, from all of us here as we engage over the course of the next 5 years? A part of it is public consultation. We need to improve our legislation. That's a reality of it, right? We need to look at it and see how we can have a legislation that speaks to today and speaks to tomorrow, that speaks to mode of work that were non-existent in 1990, but are now the norm of 2025, and roles that were probably just not there, or the change in society, where perhaps we have more entrepreneurs, more self-employed, and we have to pay a lot more attention as to how that is then structured, as opposed to 30 years ago, or 44 years ago when the scheme began. So we have to engage. We want to make sure we engage with you all. We want to get feedback from you. So you can look forward to some of that. You can anticipate that we will be doing that quite a bit over the course of the next few years. And we'll do it in as many different forums as we can, forums like these where we can get your feedback through polls, through questionnaires. When we do our webinars, we had a webinar recently on the online sickness benefit. Very good participation, help to inform us, help us to improve on our system. But do anticipate that as we continue to move along, more public consultation. What you can expect is also new online features. Have to expand digital access. It is just a must. We recognize where, yes, the technology may not be available everywhere, every nook and cranny, but we must also reflect back and recognize that 25 years ago, there was one limitation. Today, it has changed significantly. And the access to technology is very different today than what it was even 15 years ago or 20 years ago. Certainly a lot more than it was 44 years ago, right? So, new online features. Those new online features, I heard earlier in respect to the retiree, the pensioner having to come in. We have to find features that can accommodate for that. We have to find things that can allow that retiree a more effective way of informing us that I'm still here, it is still me, it's still coming, I'm still valid, everything else, right? So new online features must come in play. If we can reduce the traffic into the office and you can sit at home or at your office and get things done, that's a better use of your day, right? Nobody wants to come and have to spend half a day just waiting in line at the office, right? So we have to find ways, and that's where the new online features must come in. Enhanced services. We want a faster turnaround time. That's a lot of what we're pushing out today. When we say sickness, online sickness submission, that's a lot of what is there. Faster turnaround time, enhance the service. We have placed kiosks at every office, every branch office, there's a kiosk where you can go, you can access, the IPs can come in and use it, right? More responsiveness. We try to schedule appointments, and we encourage you to schedule your appointment, because if you're doing a renewal for a card, your card has expired, because not everybody has the card without the expiration date yet, right? But your card has expired, you need a new one. You go online, you make the submission, you set an appointment, and you literally come in for a few minutes, as opposed to having to come and sit there for a half a day waiting to see, okay, am I number 15 in the line or am I number 5, right? That's the enhanced service. And also where we can meet people where they're at. So if you're in that remote village in Punta Gorda, in Toledo, we can go and meet you there. We are looking at, for example, rolling out a contact center that allows you to communicate differently with us, so we can capture feedback a lot faster. And we recognize we can't just call it a call center, because these days, most people probably haven't picked up and called direct on a number in a long time. Just about everybody's a WhatsApp call, right? Or in a Zoom session or a Teams meeting, or right? That's where the technology is at. So we're looking at enhanced services. We have to be very attentive to that. We have to see what we can then do to get you there. But you can anticipate some of that over time. We need your participation there as well. And increased transparency. These forums are also important. We're rolling out our strategic plan. We're telling you from 2025 to 2029, these are our strategic priority areas. 4 areas: good governance, scheme modernization, operational excellence, and fund sustainability. Those are our strategic priority areas. Do anticipate that more communication will come as we go along. Some of it may come through forums like these. Others may come on your portal access. You as an individual, your portal access, just notification that pops up to you to say, oh, this is available now. This information is now available for you to go and view on our website, if you would like, right? Or audited financial statements. You all know we publish those? Did you all know we publish our audited financial statements? You can go online. You'll see our audited financial statements. You will see our actuarial report or review. You will see statistical abstracts. Those are information that is available online. We will do everything that we can to continue to be transparent, to be clear, to be open, to be accountable. Those are things that you can expect over the course of the next 5 years. So, public consultation doesn't mean that I will then stand here and, simply vibes up and go through it. It is where we want engagement, where when we are looking at legislative changes, we want your feedback. We want to know, listen, if, for example, we have to increase the contribution ceiling, what are your thoughts? Where do we want to go? If we need to adjust because of the change in minimum wage, we want your input. How do you see that affecting? If we want to look at the different benefits for sickness or retirement, we want to be able to engage with you and get your input in that to say, yes, man, that works. I think it will go that way. I'm very grateful that when I see that there's that balance that most people are striving for, that's what we want. A balance between improved benefits, which we have to focus on, and fund sustainability. Because there's a cost associated. We recognize that as well, right? So we want your feedback. When we roll out new online features, today we unveil the retirement process, right? We need you to access it. When you go up there, you go and access it. Access and see what is there. Sit with your parents, sit with anybody you know nearing retirement age, encourage them, right? Give them a helping hand so they can also access these things. And come back and let us know. If you include this, it might work a little better. If you add this part to it, you could get a better result. Okay? And let us know your feedback as well. One of the things that you should look out for is, as we move ahead, we will be doing a bit more of just customer experience surveys and assessment. We want to know what your experience is like, whether it be at the branches, whether it be through our online features then, through contacting us. We want to know. That will help to inform us as to what changes we need to make, how we can actually improve, how we can get better. All right? So I highlight these. My intent, I will not labor and go into a lot of details because I might bore you. But I do want to open up for a bit of questions and comments, concerns. If you feel like we've identified strategic priority areas, if there's a strategic area that maybe we missed and we need to make sure we keep sight of, that as you're sitting there, you recognize. So I do want to open it up. I do want to ask you for your input and feedback with that. For the benefit of all, I will go back just to our 4 strategic areas then. Here we go, right? Those are our 4 strategic areas. As I mentioned, we will publish on our website in September, so do look out for that. We will publish our strategic plan, which has a lot more than this. I'm giving you just a preview of it or unveiling it, but we will publish it. It will speak to what our vision is, a dynamic, progressive, and sustainable social security system. It will speak to our mission, our purpose, our core values, and a lot more in terms of our individual objectives, how we will achieve our strategic priorities. How we're going to get there, that is important as well.